Have you ever wondered why some couples can argue and leave a disagreement even closer than they were before they had it? While other couples have an argument or a conflict and it seems to destroy their relationship or leave them reeling for hours, sometimes even days after an argument. And sometimes people will even find themselves not being able to focus on work or what they have to do next because they're in the throes of that disagreement. And it's so toxic or unhealthy that they don't know how to get out of it in a better way. Well, if this is you and you see yourself struggling in this department, I want you to know it's not your fault. It's probably the way that you were modeled how to argue or disagree with somebody in your own upbringing. And at the same time, only you can really change it. It still boils down to being your responsibility to various degrees. And so that will be a really powerful thing to focus on and help grow you into a more secure attachment and more secure patterns in a relationship. So, in today's video, we're going to cover this is how a secure couple handles conflict. And we're going to talk about 5 major things that they do differently. And I'll even give you a little framework that can really help to resolve an argument if you see yourself stuck in this painful cycle. So, first and foremost, couples who are in a disagreement, they actually put all of their cards on the table. And we can call this open communication as point number one, but it's actually extremely important and underrated when it comes to a disagreement. Sometimes people will be in a disagreement and they'll people please their way out of it, or they'll shove things under the rug to just like get out of the disagreement or painful situation. But securely attached couples actually say what their truth is. They say, like, hey, I'm affected by the situation because I was really needing this. And, this is what I want to do in the future. And they'll truly share openly about what their grievance is. And they'll share openly about, and this brings me to point number two, what they need in order to feel resolved. Okay. If you don't communicate in a way where you're like, hey, here's what I need to feel better or to feel resolved, it's like you just kind of throw yourself into a situation, but you don't have any strategies for how to get out of it, right? Like you're in this argument, but you're not thinking constructively or productively about how to solve for it. Because how you solve for it is to get your need met. That's like really the crux of what it's going to boil down to. And you may have different needs from somebody, but oftentimes both parties' needs can be met in a disagreement. So try to actually come up with what it is that you're needing, and that will go a very long way. Number three, both individuals in a securely attached relationship, they tend to be very good at positive framing. What does this mean? Well, there is a huge difference between saying something to somebody like, hey, you aren't showing up to text consistently. You're not caring about this relationship versus saying, hey, consistency in communication is really important to me. And I would love if we could work on texting more frequently, even if it's a couple extra times per day. So, what you're doing there is you're actually letting somebody know what it is that you're looking for in the positive way. You're not saying what they don't do or making an accusation about how that represents their degree of care or investment or something about them personally and their character. You are instead just framing what it is that you're needing in a positive format when you're articulating the need. And number four, and these sort of all go together. I'm going to give you a framework in 1 second as we get to number five. But um, number four, you paint a picture of what that need looks like. It's very easy to miscommunicate in an argument. It's really easy to get into a place where you're like, yeah, I need support. And for you, support means like a hug. And for that person, support means, positive reinforcement with your words. So we have to paint a picture of what we're needing specifically. Like, hey, texting a couple extra times per day, that's very clear and specific. So it's very easy to make it tangible and then to execute on in a relationship. If we are too ambiguous and we're not in a position to really open up about what it is that we're needing, then and if we can't spell it out for somebody, people are not mind readers, and you're going to see instead that it becomes very difficult. Now, I'm going to tell you number five, and then I'm going to give you a framework. And this is something that you can keep in mind whenever you're in a disagreement. This is something I use in my client practice with people. This is something I use in our programs at the personal development school. And this is something I've used throughout all of my relationships over the past 10 or 12 years. And it works extremely effectively. But I will let you know if you want to do a really deep dive into communication. If you're listening to this video and you're realizing, hey, I have a long way to go when it comes to communication in terms of improvement, I will put a link down below to a conflict communication course. It's going to help you master conflict communication. It's going to help you in your job with your boss, with your coworkers or colleagues, with your employees if you are a business owner. It's going to help you with your friendships, your family relationships if you have challenging family relationship dynamics. And it's absolutely going to help you in your romantic relationships and dating life. So, I will put that down below fully for free. And it's going to help you get good at this stuff. And honestly, if you want to have really thriving, secure relationships, it's a necessity to get good at conflict communication because we're never going to avoid conflict. Conflict's going to happen. We are just going to get better at it and resolve it better. So now there's less buildup of it. So you'll see the conflict actually go down in your life while your efficacy goes up. And that's where, conflict or challenges in relationships won't feel so difficult. Now, number 5 is that both parties in a secure relationship express empathy. They validate each other's feelings. They try to actually tune into each other's perspectives and hear why somebody else is being affected and really tune into like what that person is feeling and they care about it. And so when it comes to this kind of dynamic, what you'll generally see is there's this framework we can use. And this is very high level. Again, that course will go much deeper. But I would, in my practice with people, and I do this again in my own relationships, if there's ever a conflict, I have this checklist in the back of my mind that's like, both of us need our feelings expressed, or both of these people, if it was in practice, need their feelings heard, validated, and needs expressed and painted a picture of. Okay. So, for example, let's say that there is one person in a relationship who's anxious, they want to spend more time together. Dismissive avoidant says, I want to spend more time apart or have more time to myself. And let's say they're fighting over it and they're in this disagreement. If the anxious person can say, hey, I'm feeling a little hurt by the situation, and what I'm really needing is just reassurance right now that you care about me and just quality time. Like when we spend time together, just to have quality time and to know that you can be really present. And that way it will make me feel connected, even if we spend a little less time together. Then all of a sudden, if that person can turn around, who's the avoidant, and validate that person's feelings and say, okay, I get that you're hurt. I understand that you want quality time. And and I'm willing to work on that. And in turn, if they can say, hey, and also when you come at me and sometimes are critical with me, I take that as like feeling very down and I end up needing to protect myself because I feel ashamed. And what I'm actually needing is to be in a position where like I can give quality time and even, maybe spend more time with you. But sometimes we can do our own thing if we spend the whole weekend together. Like, if it's the whole weekend, for example, I'll go into do my own thing in the other room Sunday morning, have some time to myself. And that way we can really have the best of both worlds. Now, I kind of jumped ahead on a few things because I was kind of pulling out some of the different dynamics about quality versus quantity of time. But really, what it's boiling down to is that we need both parties to be able to express what they're feeling and what they're needing. And if they do that openly, they're going to come to this common ground in the middle where they both validate each other's feelings and needs. And then we can actually negotiate for a healthy middle ground. Each person's situation and dynamic on what that healthy middle ground is will vary ever so slightly. And again, the conflict communication course goes into this in a lot more detail than I can put in like a 10-minute video. But it will be very beneficial to keep that framework in the back of your mind. Did we both have our feelings articulated? And then did we validate each other and actually like empathize with each other's perspective? And did we both talk about what it is that we need in a really open way, positively framed, not like you better do this or else, or you never care about that. We actually communicated clearly what it is that we were needing. And now, when two people are empathizing with each other's perspectives and putting their cards on the table, they can actually get to that common middle ground and talk about it openly without taking each other's differences personally, without making, character comments about how you're this or you're that. And it allows us to naturally in relationships reach that middle ground, which is much easier to do when we are communicating that way. So, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to improve your conflict communication skills, you can use the link in the description down below. Thank you for stopping by and for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And I can't wait to see you in the next one.